We don't see on the ground there a sheet draped. We don't see a van for the medical examiner in that parking lot area. So maybe he was transported, maybe he was deceased, maybe he's still there. We don't know the answer.
Embracing the differences like hand in hand. Peace and joy for both sides. Together we shine in each other's light. Walking the world in love and light. Heartbeat, peace, flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. Tonight we stand in love, pure might.
All right, thank you for tuning in to the channel. We're just covering this shooting that happened in Dallas, Texas. It turns out, I guess, that the shooter perhaps is deceased, but they're trying to bring in the news. They are expecting a news brief coming up here shortly, and we're going to get right to it. So let's see what's happening.
If your sources are still confirming that, but earlier there was a source that said it was a white male that was seen shooting.
Yes. So that's what we know. We don't know if they're at any other location. We don't know. Is he from North Texas? Is he from another state?
Right.
Yeah. We don't know if he's from North Texas. Is there any criminal history?
Right.
Is there?
All right. Thank you. AI Med Spa, 2 dead, 3 shot.
Oh, yeah. But that's being investigated right now.
And what was there at the scene? Did he have a notebook? Did he have a statement? Did he have,
Right. Okay, there you see they're going up I'm going to call it a fire escape or external stairwell.
Right.
But they are going up. Now they're going to look for what's up there. Again, is his body still there? We don't know. That's first. But
again, people are shooting from top of buildings. That's amazing.
I mean, if you're shooting from a rifle, the casings then would be nearby, right?
They're going to expand. Yeah, they're going to come out of that. And they're going to be in that area.
In that area.
Yeah, the weapon itself is going to be there.
Right.
So we'll know. I mean, they have that weapon.
It's truly terrifying what's happening here in our own country.
That if the serial number hadn't been destroyed in some way, they're trying to trace it to see when it was purchased or who it came from. If it was purchased, was it recently or some time ago?
Right.
And why is it so key to have the weapon? Like, I know, the very first thing that officers, usually are looking for is the weapon. Was it thrown in the woods? Was it wrapped in a towel? Was it, they really always want to get the weapon. Is that just to add another layer to confirm?
Welcome, Deborah. Welcome, Eric. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Ballistics match between the bullets in your victims and that weapon. So we can say without doubt, this is the gun that was fired multiple times, striking multiple people.
And fingerprints too, maybe, right?
Oh, there'll be fingerprints. Yes. Always that kind of DNA information, but you also want to match especially if you don't have your suspect. Yeah. If the person is dead and the weapon is there, 1 + 1 is 2, and then you can be fairly certain the bullets will match with the ballistics testing being done. But as well, where did the gun come from? So many times in these kind of incidents, it's a recent purchase. Not so in the Charlie Kirk killing. Right. That was a weapon, a bolt action rifle, an older weapon that belonged to the grandfather that had been given to him as a gift. He bought a $2,000 scope to go on it. This might not be that. This might be a weapon that was purchased recently, or it could have been one that he's had for some time. We'll see what they tell us now.
Yeah, hopefully we can learn some more. It looks like they're about to start that news conference that we've been talking about. Let's go ahead and go out to that.
All right, we do have that news conference that does appear to be getting underway. We're going to lift up the audio and listen in as we expect to hear from several agencies involved in this investigation. Again, you can see they are walking up to the microphone, so let's lift up the audio here as we wait for that update.
Hey guys, tell us where you're tuning in from, what part of the country. Is anybody here from Dallas, by the way, or Texas?
morning. We're about to get started and brief you on the events as we know them that happened this morning.
All right. Let me start off by saying that I'm a person who believes very, very strongly in the power of prayer, and that prayer changes things. And so I'm going to ask everyone, please join me in praying for the families of the folks who lost their lives today. Pray for the speedy recovery for those who are hurt and were injured in what happened today. But maybe even more to the point, we're a country and a city that needs prayer. So I'm going to ask you all to join me also in praying for this city, that we can come together at a time like this, and that we can be there for one another the way we always have in times like this, to support one another, help us all get through this very difficult time, not just in our city, but in our country. And that's why I'd ask you to pray for our nation. There's a lot going on right now in our country. A lot of it's confusing. It's a scary time. I've got children. I've got 3 young children. And I'm here to tell you that it is challenging to explain to them what's going on in our country right now. But I said before, and I'll say it again, I believe in the power of prayer to change things. And it can change the hearts of people. It can change this country. It can change the city. So please pray for everyone who's affected by today's tragedy. I also want to say thank you to the Dallas Police Department, and say thank you to the Dallas Sheriff's Department, Dallas County Sheriff's Department, Texas Department of Public Safety, and all of our various federal law enforcement partners who acted so quickly today to make sure that today's tragedy wasn't worse than what it was. So on behalf of the city of Dallas, I want to say thank you to all of you. And you're going to hear from some of those folks.
Guys, please hit the like button if you can.
Appreciate what you all do, not just today, but every day, to help keep us all safe. And lastly, and this is really important, I would ask all of the city of Dallas residents who can hear me right now, let's be patient, let's remain calm, and let's let our law enforcement partners, our police department, do their job. This is an active investigation. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. And I want to encourage all of you to exercise a little bit of restraint and allow them to do their job to help make sure this continues to be a safe city, and that they can help us figure out what happened here today. But with that, I want to say, again, thank you to all the folks who came out this morning from our law enforcement community. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Daniel Como, to speak a little bit more directly to the investigation itself. And with that, Chief Como, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a assist the officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI field office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart from the ICE Enforcement and Removal Office.
All right, so again, we see messages on the bullets. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe.
Johnson, I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities. And I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you all so much. As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you. Thank you.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe. The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences. I hope that every one of us will pray, number one, for the safety of law enforcement that are risking their lives to keep us safe. Number two, for the health of those who were shot and injured today. We still don't know the full details of who was injured, but for the families also of the victims of this shooting. Violence has no place. It is wrong. And we should come together. If we want to have a debate about immigration policies, we can do so in the halls of Congress without demonizing each other, and especially without demonizing the men and women who every day put on a badge and go risk their lives to keep us safe. And we should not be putting language out there that inspires madmen to commit evil crimes. Our prayers are with the men and women of law enforcement, and we ought to come together and have some decency across the political aisle to say this violence is wrong and it needs to stop.
Senator, have you been told that immigrant detainees were the victims of today's shooting?
My understanding is the details of who the victims are still being ascertained, so I don't want to go ahead of law enforcement releasing these details. What they have said is that no law enforcement was injured, and so that's a natural inference, but I don't know the details.
Special Agent, can you talk a little bit about some of the evidence you mentioned earlier? Just for clarity, I think there's going to be a lot of questions. Our understanding is that some of the shell casings had specific writing that was relevant to the voting. Can you give us more information?
So I'm not going to go into any more details at this time. We will come back to you when we have more details to share. Again, our goal here will be transparency as those details become available, but we are still in the early stages of an investigation. Information is still coming in. When we have more details, we will come back to this group. I'm not going to be identifying victims at this time. The only thing I will confirm at this time is no law enforcement was injured. Certainly you can respect law enforcement's need to make notifications.
Why are we not saying that they were the detainees that were shot?
At this point in time, we're not going to take any additional questions from law enforcement. Again, I'd ask for you to respect the fact that this is an ongoing investigation. And as more details come available,
we're not asking for the names of the victims.
I understand.
General sense,
I will.
If the victims are the detainees.
The only thing I can say right now is no law enforcement was injured this morning as part of the attack. I won't be taking any more questions. Neither will law enforcement this time. We'll come back to you later today or in the coming days when we have additional information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you a lot.
All right, only taking a few brief questions right there, but what you're looking at is a live look from near the scene. As you can see, the array of officers out there working this very active investigation just hours after all of this took place. Now, as far as what we know, this is, of course, out of Dallas, Texas. 2 detainees fatally shot at an ICE facility in Dallas, one other wounded by a sniper on a nearby rooftop. And that appears to potentially be the rooftop, as they do have it kind of blocked off by police tape. And you have folks that are working the investigation walking on the roof. Now, the information itself coming from Dallas police and other organizations and agencies saying that one victim was pronounced dead on the scene. 2 other detainees rushed to a hospital with injuries that were deemed serious. Officers then confirming another of the detainees died. So again, 2 detainees dead, one of them wounded, being treated at a hospital. The exact condition not known just yet. Police said that they were alerted around 6:40 a.m. local time this morning to reports of that shooting at the ICE facility. The sniper reportedly on a nearby rooftop when the person opened fire into a van carrying those detainees, striking the 3 victims at the ICE facility there in Dallas. Investigators.
Yes, BMW Wilson. It looks like the sniper killed the immigrants. That's detainees. That's weird.
And approached him. The FBI just saying during that news conference, this was, quote, an act of targeted violence, and anti-ICE messages were found during the investigation. At this point, we do not have any other information about the shooter. We're told that the sniper is a man. That is all they have said at this point, and the victims are not being publicly identified. Again, you could see they have gone away from that image of the scene, but we do have a lot to discuss here. So I do want to bring in Miguel Clark. He is a retired FBI supervisory special agent joining us now live. Miguel, thank you so much for taking.
Guys, hit the like button if you will, share and subscribe. Thank you.
Of your assessment from your expertise there of what we just heard from law enforcement, as we heard from Dallas police, the FBI, as well as ICE.
Well, I'm thinking first that isolated shooter, at least in this particular arena, I'm thinking that maybe they had some background in hunting, perhaps.
The sniper is unalived.
They see a long rifle, long gun, more than likely bolt action, some type of optic. When I looked at the scene and did some approximations, it looked like probably a maximum of between 275 yards and maybe as little as say 150 yards. It will take a little bit of skill in order to be able to reliably hit targets in an opening. Let's say it's a Ford Econoline style van. I expect that opening to be somewhere around 4 foot by 4 foot. And it's going to look a little bit like a shoebox top if you're unmagnified. So I'm assuming there's going to be some type of magnification that was there. So those are the first initial thoughts that I'm thinking about. I'm also thinking about how similar this sounds to what preceded the Charlie Kirk shooting. And so my big concern here is that there is some loosely affiliated group that's out there that have self-radicalized, all with the same kind of ideology, and that more attacks are going to be planned throughout the country.
And of course, that's always a concern. This is so early in the investigation that law enforcement trying to piece all of this together. They have not publicly identified the suspect. But again, they are just combing over the evidence as this just happened, hours ago. I did want to ask you, when you talk about the response from law enforcement, we hear these reports of a sniper on top of a building. How does that change the situation when law enforcement is responding to an active shooter situation?
For active shooter situation, it's all hands on deck. We also heard that there was a call that had gone out that officer needed some type of assistance. That was heard on the Dallas radio system. So not just for the federal agents, but kind of an all call to anyone in law enforcement. Part of the reason why you saw a Dallas Police Department showing up so quickly, you're thinking about the time that the call went out, approximately 6:40 a.m. That's before twilight, even before I think civil twilight. So it's going to be dark outside, and the shooting that was taking place in the dark. So the other thing that I'm also thinking about from a challenge standpoint is not being able to pinpoint where the fire is coming from. So you've got a significant amount of space in between where the shooter's located and where the victims are located. And then if the shooting is not continuing and ongoing, then it's going to be very difficult to figure out exactly where that individual is located. Then you've got to really kind of like close down that area to provide some level of security, fence in that individual, and then start to approach that individual and see if you can neutralize him or her.
How exactly does the FBI, other agencies that are involved here, it's Dallas Police that started all of this off, how do they go about keeping the public informed, but not releasing too much information? Because again, early on in the investigation, you want to make sure that certain things stay fairly close to the vest. So how do they go about kind of that balance?
Well, I think in most organizations, they have agents, investigators, detectives who write search warrants, and those search warrants go to judges. And so you have a really good feeling for what type of information needs to go into a search warrant. And that's the type of information that we're seeing here today. So probable cause type information, reasonable suspicion type of information that's being presented. And not every single fact that the investigators know needs to be set forth in order to obtain some type of legal document. The other thing that there's a balance and a risk and a reward. And the balance is you need to keep some investigative details close to the vest, primarily those details that uncover sources and methods. And everything else, right, you're going to take the risk, share with the public, because the public is really kind of that third category of investigator right now.
When we look at the long-term investigation, we had the image a short time ago that was at one of the buildings in that location, the possible rooftop where this happened. That, of course, they're still trying to piece all of that together. But long-term wise, what steps take place now from this point where the first briefing has been held and that initial information has been released? Where do we kind of go from here?
Okay, so you heard SAC Rothrock talk a little bit about it. Um, there is no federal power that will not be used here. We start to think about the FBI has a strategic information and operations center that runs 24/7, and they're collecting global data and fusing all of that information together. So they have some level of not really oversight per se, but they'll be able to assist in some way, looking at any connections that exist, looking at who might be claiming some type of responsibility, even internationally. So you're going to see some of that background work being done. There's all the on the boots groundwork that's going to be done, running down where the rifle was purchased, where the ammunition was purchased. If there's messages that were being written on shell casings, that means that the shooter had something to say. We're going to figure out where he said it first. That's not his first outward expression of his feelings. So you're going to see some type of written documents. You're going to see some leakage of information between friends and family. I'll be willing to bet that he's part of another online group with similar minded individuals. And my thought is that those individuals may be inspired by this action. Again, 2 weeks ago, we saw something eerily similar. And so my concern is that the end is not in sight.
And as we take a live look over the scene here, this is looking a lot different than it did several hours ago. Still a lot of law enforcement on scene, but we're not necessarily seeing as many roads that are blocked off, and no longer those dozens and dozens of vehicles. But police still working this investigation. It is just hours after all of this took place there at that ICE facility over in Dallas. Now, I've asked you this before in other situations that we've covered, but I do want to get your take for folks who are just watching this for the first time here. When you have a suspect who is deceased, investigators saying that person took their own life, how does that kind of differ in what information can be released versus if you're taking a shooter into custody and there's still the chance for a trial of some kind?
Um, when we think about the information and what you want to release, you're free to release a little bit more information when the shooter has, well, let's say, prosecuted himself, if you will. We're less concerned about whether or not what kind of a defense he's going to need to make legally, right? There's no defense that's going to be made now because the shooter is deceased. So I think we can be a little bit more free with the information that's being provided. However, there are probably folks that either willingly or unwillingly helped the shooter. And so we want to kind of pull back some of that information and not share that so as not to alert people who may not realize what their help has facilitated.
Nathan, I just shared your comment with Calvin, so let's see if he responds.
Miguel Clark, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and to break all that down. Anything we missed, anything you want to make sure to add here before I let you go?
Yeah, I think people need to keep in mind the pathway of violence, starting with a grievance, something that the shooter, the individual says, hey, this is really wrong. And then the ideation where they start to express, I feel really bad about this. I'm angry about it. It's not right. Moving from that into the research and planning where they're starting to figure out what they want to do, the actions that they take in furtherance of that plan, right? Then there's the breach. I'm putting this plan into motion. I'm going into the location where I've chosen. And then we see the actual action that takes place there. The other thing is that, thinking about how social media plays into all of this, we really have a lot of these shooters that are in their own echo chamber where they're not looking for any information that will dissuade them from what they've already decided is true. It's very dangerous. And we see this environment is becoming the norm, right? The echo chamber where we're not looking for other information or anything that differs from the ideas that we currently have. And so this is part of the reason why you're seeing an increase in these types of shooting, these types of activities. And you can look back over the past 4 or 5 of these major events, and you'll find individuals that had exactly that same pattern.
Right. Miguel Clark, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. We definitely appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And of course, you are looking on your screen right there at a live aerial look at the ICE detention facility where all of this did take place there in Dallas, Texas, around 6:30, 6:40 this morning local time, just hours ago. And investigators still out there.
All right, guys. So why do you think a guy would shoot at people protesting ICE and write messages of hate toward ICE, but turn around and shoot ICE detainees? That's strange. What do you guys think about that?
Pop this up on your screen because this is actually just coming in from Kash Patel, the director of the FBI. And those are pictures of the bullets there that he says were used. And that's there on the left-hand side of your screen. But he said this morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing one, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities while the investigation is ongoing. An initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind the attack. He said, see that photo? One of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. These despicable, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We are only miles from an area in Texas where just 2 months ago, an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were injured. Please pray. Now, again, you can see those images right there. We got them close up thanks to our producer, Juliana Maya. She is pulling that up for us. And you can get a better look at the bullets and the message that the FBI director says was written on there. It says anti-ICE. Now, it's hard to see if there are any other messages that are written on the other casings. But again, that is just a look at the photo that was provided by Kash Patel. We're also getting some other reaction coming in from officials all over the country here, not just locally there in Dallas, Texas, but also Attorney General Pam Bondi made a statement initially kind of providing the details that we had just kind of had coming in, very preliminary. But then she posted this statement right here saying federal agents from the FBI and ATF headquarters are on the scene of the shooting at the Dallas ICE field office. We stand ready to assist our partners at DHS, pray for the victims of this heinous act, and for our brave law enforcement officers. Again, we are going to keep all over this as we continue to gather the latest information. We're hearing from Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He says Texas fully supports ICE. Both the Texas Department of Public Safety and Texas National Guard work closely with ICE. This assassination will not slow our arrest, detention, and deportation of illegal immigrants. We will work with ICE and the Dallas Police Department to get to the bottom of the assassin's motive. We will offer ICE additional support to assist their operations. Again, that is a statement right there coming in.
Okay, chat, everyone. Quite a few people are already saying that this was a left-wing shooter. A leftist shooter.
You can see this aerial image from right near the scene. That is a building nearby, and it appears that our Fox 4 Dallas team is flying overhead in their chopper, getting some of this video. It does show the ICE facility itself, as well as several other rooftops that are being looked at. Again, it appears that they were on the rooftop of a law office there. Investigators were combing around looking for evidence. Not clear exactly what they found, except for that shell casing that we showed you a bit earlier in the photo from FBI Director Kash Patel. Also want to pop this up on your screen. The Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, saying the FBI is fully engaged in conjunction with our state and federal law enforcement partners at the crime scene over in Dallas. Now, we have been checking in.
Lori Park says it was MAGA who did it.
Who are covering this from each and every angle. Do want to pop up the audio and listen to some of their coverage right here on Live Now from
Lee Greek Chef says it's always the violent left, folks. It's the violent left.
Learned that this is now being treated as an act of targeted violence. Messages on shell casings, anti-ICE in nature. That's what authorities were reporting. Now, again, they're not releasing the identities of the victims or the suspect just yet. All they said was no members of law enforcement are hurt. They did
Guys, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe while you're here, please.
Can you double down? Can you let us know who are these victims? Who is this suspect? And they declined sharing any information in terms of that. They did ask for public information to report info to the FBI. They will continue to work with federal and local partners on this. But, you know, there was a lot of emotion, I would say, here. Senator Ted Cruz kind of taking the podium to say this needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. And I want to say that that was pretty much the rhetoric from law enforcement officers too. The field officer here from ICE in Dallas, he said this is the second time he's had to talk about a shooting.
None of the ICE agents were hurt. They targeted the detainees. Not sure what's the reason behind that, but this morning there was one sniper on top of the building bright and early that was shooting at individuals who ultimately unalived himself. Stay tuned.
Led to this incident. It is the beginning stages of this investigation. I will say authorities did mention that multiple times, kind of doubling down that they will not give more details at this time. Law enforcement didn't want to share more as they are.
Medusa says that this is backed by Soros, funding guaranteed.
Diligently to, you know, try and clear up some parts of the scene, add more officers in different parts of the scene. I mean, we are so close to Dallas Love Field. We are close to the Children's Hospital. There are a lot of very important entities around this area as well. But I mean, again, we have seen law enforcement officials from so many different agencies, not only local, but of course, ATF, Homeland Security. We heard from ICE officials here just kind of talking about how they feel targeted. They feel like there's a lot of political violence here. Of course, Police Chief Como of Dallas applauding Dallas police officers' response to this situation. Mayor Eric Johnson asking for prayers. So, you know, we are still on scene where it is just very active. We're hoping that as the day progresses, we do learn more about how this situation came to be and hopefully some more information about the suspect and victims. Back to you.
All right, Peyton, thank you very much.
Watching while Peyton was talking, them really carefully, almost like what, 5-6 officers there, really scouring the roof of that immigration law office building right now, looking for any more evidence. So clearly that's an active scene still.
Yeah, we just a little bit ago had a news conference where they were able to answer a lot of the questions in this, and we want to kind of go back to that, play that again, so we kind of get an update.
Let me start off by saying that I'm a person who believes very, very strongly in the power of prayer and that prayer changes things. And so I'm going to ask everyone, please join me in praying for.
All right, guys, you're tuned in to Watching the World. We're going to approach our noon show in a few minutes. We're going to be covering the shooting of actually Charlie Kirk. We're going to see if the shooter had a gun when he left and when he jumped off the roof. So stick around if you're interested in that type of material. Also, we're going to get to the president of Ukraine and see what he had to say. His tune has changed in regards to Russia. So stay tuned for all those good storylines.
You all to join me also in praying for this city, that we can come together at a time like this, and that we can be there for one another the way we always have.
Okay, that's a repeat. Let's see. Paladin Ross says Democrats need to see actual consequences to their terroristic actions. Okay. AI Metzbar says they play hot potato and blame each other. No, it's the left. No, it's the right. Okay. Lance Wust says Stephen Miller did it.
It's confusing. It's a scary time. I've got children. I've got 3 young children, and I'm here to tell you that it is challenging to explain to them what's going on in our country right now. But I said before, and I'll say it again, I believe in the power of prayer to change things, and it can change the hearts of people. It can change this country. It can change this city. So please pray for everyone who's affected by today's tragedy. I also want to say thank you to the Dallas Police Department, and say thank you to the Dallas Sheriff's Department, Dallas County Sheriff's Department, Texas Department of Public Safety, and all of our various federal law enforcement partners who acted so quickly today to make sure that today's tragedy wasn't worse than what it was. So on behalf of the
Okay, so Linda Miller says, I've never been one to shy away from things and have been hand-wired at current events. At 71, have experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I seriously have political violence fatigue. Okay, quite tired of it. Joseph says, good versus evil, everyone pick a side. Okay, we see a lot of that.
who can hear me right now. Let's be patient. Let's remain calm. And let's let our law enforcement partners.
Legislation says there's no such thing as an innocent American. Okay, Joseph says, read the Bible, people. Okay, Michael Wilbur, thank you guys for all the support. Hit the like button if you could. He says, at 70, I agree. Okay, Milo says Hitler was for the right wing. Are you saying he was right?
Make sure this continues to be a safe city and that they can help us figure out what happened here today. But with that, I want to say, again, thank you to all the folks who came out this morning from our law enforcement community. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Daniel Como, to speak a little bit more directly to the investigation itself.
Darts No City says Hitler was a democratic socialist, you fool.
Thank you, Mayor. Today at approximately 6:40 a.m., we received a city officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot.
Johnny the Monkey says, release the Epstein files as a distraction from this. Yes, indeed.
Who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI Field Office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart from the...
Lee West says, Jesus will judge you, Jesus Christ.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter. at one of my facilities.
Okay, again, this is a repeat, so we're just going to go through a few comments. Tom Bone says, saying Hitler was a socialist is like saying North Korea is a democracy. It's in the name, idiots. Okay. Teresa Howell says Democrats want it released in its entirety, talking about the Epstein files. Mr. Good Citizen, thank you for all the repeated comments, says Tom C. Liberals are delusional. Okay, all right. Ranger Oy says white male again. Big surprise.
As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI.
We are continuing our breaking news coverage on the shooting at a Dallas ICE facility that left 3 people dead this morning, including the shooter. 2 ICE detainees have been confirmed to be dead among those killed. The other person, another ICE detainee, was injured. That suspected gunman is also dead. That death caused by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. We'll be taking over coverage here now this morning as Brandon and Lauren have been relieved from the desk for the day, but there are still a lot of moving parts in this investigation. We just recapped.
Okay, welcome back. Galactic 2X says they're using this to get the green light to keep wearing masks, protecting their identity. Thank you so much. All right, we really do appreciate it.
Now at noon, first the showers and the storms. We're tracking the radar.
All right, guys. So now we're going to switch up a bit. We're going to go and check out something here in regards to Charlie Kirk. So stay tuned. We're going to look and see about the shooter's gun, Tyler Robertson. So just stay tuned.
YouTubers out there.
And by the way, the gentleman that put this together, his name is Gray Hughes. He has a great channel. I actually picked up with Gray Hughes. I'm not sure if you guys heard about the Kanika Jenkins trial, but that's when I really showed this guy's really terrific when it comes to breaking down cases. But let's get to the Charlie Kirk shooter while we wait for more information in this shooting that occurred today.
Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe. Today's video is regarding a timeline that I've put together in the Charlie Kirk assassination by Tyler Robinson.
A lot of you have been asking me about the rifle, the shooting. Well, this video is going to actually break it down for you.
There's major YouTubers out there still selling conspiracy theories. It's just absolutely crazy to me. Tyler Robinson is the killer. He admitted being the killer. He mentioned, you know, there's so much to it. It's just so obvious. You know, one of them being Candace.
Elizabeth Thomas says, stop the violence. Your anger should be with the political rhetoric that incites violence. Okay. Johnny the Monkey says, what was an example of a socialist policy that Hitler embraced?
Oh, and I'm not sure what the hell she's doing. You know, she makes a video saying, you know, like, who directed him to do the killing? You know, everything's nefarious. Things just don't add up. It all adds up perfectly. All right. So here we go. At 8:07 in the morning, believe it or not, there is video of Tyler Robinson walking around in the area. And this is it right here.
So this video actually breaks down Tyler Robinson's entire day before and after he shot Charlie Kirk.
This is 8:07. I wasn't sure what time this was. If we just rewind it a little bit here, there he is, 8:07 in the morning. And he is walking at that time in front of this house right here. He walks right.
It's never been easier to start a podcast than with Riverside. Here's how it works. First, go to Riverside.
By there at 8:07 in the morning. And then, you know, obviously shows up there later, but using the timeline here at 8:23 in the morning, a gray Dodge Challenger is heading north on West 880 South. All right. And where that is on the map is way up here, right there. And it drives by this direction and it goes just like that. Now, I guess it's possible it drove down this cul-de-sac and turned right after we saw it. The camera is facing just like this, out this direction, and the car drives by like that. And that video is coming up right after this. So there he is, you know, walking a little closer up there. And then in this video right here, this is the Challenger driving by right here on the right-hand side of the screen, and that is at 8:23:04. All right, back to the timeline. At 8:29, a gray Dodge Challenger and walking in person with shorts and maroon shirt. So after 8:23, apparently, law enforcement says at 8:29, he is seen with his vehicle.
So for those of you that are just coming in, we're covering the shooting that happened in Dallas this morning. A lone sniper, or that's what we're being told, shot at ICE detainees. He also took his own life. Okay, so we're covering that story, but as the news continue to sway and we take breaks, we're also going back to Charlie Kirk shooting and covering the actual shooter, the alleged shooter, for the entire day. Because in the morning, he made a trip to the university, and that's what we're actually seeing now around 8-something in the morning. He did sort of a test run, and then we're going to cover him as he approaches the university and actually secures a shot on Charlie Cross, which there are a lot of debates about the shooter, but we can imagine that that will always be the case.
And his maroon shirt on campus. So, I mean, it's interesting that in 22 minutes, he somehow circles back, gets his vehicle, and, is driving it on campus. There's plenty of time in between all these different time frames for him to be able to do that, though. And then at 9:57 and 45 seconds, that's when he shows up on this video, walking again. Watch right now. So there he is walking. And
so this is Tyler Robertson, the shooter of Charlie Kirk. He's doing a test run, a test walk. And this gentleman, Gray Hughes, who has a great channel, he has compiled all the video to kind of show you. And also he's going to show you that Tyler actually had the rifle in hand when he jumped off the roof.
If I zoom out, you'll see a time frame. They actually pan out. There it is, 9:57, 50 seconds. He's walking by right here. And that's at that same location up here. And then we know later he walks by these two homes on surveillance cameras. All right, so then 11:49, he walks by 874 South 800 West Street, and he's heading south, and Tyler Robinson is limping, wearing jeans, black shirt, hat, sunglasses, and Chuck Taylor shoes. And then he also passes 878 South 800 West Street, and that's at 11:50 and 15 seconds. So the first one is 11:49 and 34 seconds. And then 11:50 in about 15 seconds. And then at 11:50 and 45 seconds, he heads west.
Eric, I saw the video too where they're saying he was basically shot in the back of the head and the bullet came out of his neck. I did see that too. Quite conflicting, all of the different stories, but I saw it.
Through a grassy area just south of 878 South 800 West Street. And that would be right here. So we see him on camera go like this and then turn, and he's going that direction. So look at that, 11:49, 42 seconds.
All right, so you guys can actually see Tyler Robertson limping. You can see he actually has that rifle in his, I believe, down his right leg. That's why you can see him limping. Notice he was not limping in the previous videos when he came through for a test run wearing shorts. So notice now he has the rifle, the gun, inside of his pants.
He's walking across the street, and then TMZ zooms in for some unknown reason.
Again, this is Charlie Kirk's shooter on the way to take the shot.
That's the conspiracy, everybody. TMZ zooming in, and we don't get to see the actual time. All right, and then right here, he's walking by that next house. That's the same moment in time. Walking by the next house with a limp. He's on his way to the university to shoot Charlie Kirk at this point. Now, look on the right-hand side of the screen. If I kind of like zoom in over here, you'll see him start to walk in, almost like he's changing his mind, goes the other direction. And then he turns around right now again. I just wonder what was going through his mind right at that point. All right, so he heads that direction. Then at 11:52, he's at the Utah Valley Institute of Religion parking lot, and he's approaching the tunnel. So After we see him on camera right there, he walks like this and crosses that little bridge and then goes into the parking area here, heading towards this tunnel right there. Then at 11:53, he's at the tunnel. The suspect paused at the top of the stairs of the tunnel and pulled out his phone, and then eventually puts the phone back in his pocket. And that is represented here in this picture. That is the top of the tunnel, and that's the cell phone in his right pocket that he put in there. And down this leg here is likely a portion of the rifle. Then between 11:53 and 12:02, he's seen on a few different images. This is likely probably right after the tunnel. And then this is maybe underneath the parking garage.
Remember, this is one of the photos that the FBI had released when they were actually searching for him. So this is right at the tunnel.
And he's making his way up the stairs. And you can see in this picture, he's got the cell phones in the right pocket right there. And you can see the cell phone again. That's the edge of the cell phone. And then he makes his way up the stairs. And this is a full video. Now that there's a car right there, so maybe that does indicate this is the parking garage, and there happens to be a parking garage. After you go into the tunnel, it goes right into this building. So maybe he's down below, he takes the parking garage and goes up some stairs and comes out on ground level. Maybe somewhere around in this area. We don't know exactly where he comes out. Then at 12 p.m.
All right, so for those that are coming in, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. You actually see here the actual full day timeline of Tyler Robinson, the shooter of Charlie Kirk, and Gray Hughes actually broke it all down into video format.
The turning point event begins. At 12:02 p.m., Tyler Robinson walks on the north side of the Losi Center building with a limp. So after going in this parking garage, he eventually makes his way, and he's over here, and he's walking in front of the building with a limp. And as I've said in other videos, there's a camera, 360-degree camera right here that picks up all of that. That's the camera that released the image of him running across the roof. So there he is at 12:02 walking across like this. And then he enters this door. And then we don't have any video or anything of what he was doing inside of the Losi building here. But then eventually he walks up this set of stairs right here. Now there's a YouTuber out there that was actually standing right next to the stairs and said, God, I wonder how he got up to the roof, and had no idea what he was looking at. So as we said, the turning point event begins at 12:02. Tyler Robinson walks in front of the Losi building. At 12:15, he goes up the Losi building stairway, and then Tyler Robinson heads up the stairs. Then at 12:17, he climbs over a short wall and appeared to crouch down on the north side of that wall. So what that means is he went up the stairs right here and then walked over here and then stepped over this wall and crouched down. Now this is where I believe he assembled the rifle. So we have him there at, climbs over the short wall and appeared to crouch down. And then at 12:20, turning point debate portion begins. And then I have right here from 12:17 to 12:22, he's on the roof, crouched down, likely assembles the rifle. Now there's a YouTuber out there named Matt Kester who's been putting out videos, really cool videos where he's showing how quickly somebody can take apart that type of a rifle. And just watch this. And I'm just going to show you the timing of it. So look at this, boom. So imagine him being kneeled down just like.
All right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be replaced.
Like he's doing here. Puts it together. And I guess there's 2 different screws here. And then a non-Phillips.
Remember, he left the screwdriver behind, so he probably, once he put the gun together, he forgot all about the screwdriver.
And then he puts in another part of it, the bolt, and then he's only going to put 3 bullets in, but you can just kind of look at the time. So when you look at this, he's only 52 seconds into this video, and then he's going to have all 3 of them in real soon. And, maybe the person could load the bullets a little bit quicker than that. So he put 3 bullets in there, and he had it all ready to go in less than a minute. All right. So thank you for that. Very interesting, Matt Kester. All right. So he shows that you can put together that type of rifle that quick. All right. So then at 12:22.
All right. So for those of you that are just coming in, we're covering Tyler Robertson, the shooter of Charlie Kirk, and how the whole day was developed and how he actually carried the gun, put the gun together, and also shot Charlie Kirk and jumped off the roof with the gun completely together. We're going to get to that.
He's on the roof and stands up. Okay. And then Tyler Robinson ran across the west side of the rooftop of Losi Center building with no limp. So at that point, we know that he's taken the rifle out of his pants and he put it together just like we just saw. And then at 12:22, Tyler Robinson laid down in a prone position. At 12:23, Charlie Kirk was shot by Tyler Robinson. So what he did was he climbed over here and then he ran over there and then he makes his way. And at 12:23, he's in this position right here and he sort of shimmies his way over and he fires just like that. And it hits Charlie Kirk right in his neck. All right. Then we see at 12:23:34, he's gotten up. He's obviously wrapped a black towel around the gun and starts running. He left the screwdriver on the roof somewhere, though. I would think right back in this area. That's what I think. And it could have just fallen out while he was running. So here it is at 12:23:34. Now let's take a look at that video. Here we go. And so I kind of try to do as good as I could stabilizing it. And you can see him running through the glass right there. See that? When he comes out to this side. And it turns out it's like a frame. It's like 6 to 7 frames a second. Maybe 8. And then he jumps down. You can see the whole time he's got something in his hand with a towel around it. And he didn't have time to put it down his pants like he had it before. He had to get the hell out of there. And then he's approaching the main drive through the campus there. And then just after this, he heads over to the wooded area where he puts the rifle wrapped in a black towel in a bush, he said. All right, so let's take a look at the timeline again. And see, we see right here, I have the timeline of each individual movement. So Tyler Robinson reaches the north corner of the Losi roof at 12:23:55. That was at 12:23:52. Then 12:23:55, places rifle wrapped in a black towel on the roof and begins descending the roof. Then at 12:23:59, he's still on the north side of the Losi building rooftop. Robinson lowers himself to the ledge and grabs a rifle wrapped in black towel from the roof. And then at 12:24:02, he's on the north side of the Losi building on the ground. Tyler Robinson lands on the ground and his glasses fall off. And then 12:24:29, he makes his way all the way over to Campus Drive. Tyler Robinson reaches Campus Drive north of the Losi building, and then at 12:25, he's likely at that point in the wooded area on Campus Drive, approximately the time that Tyler Robinson entered the wooded area. Then between 12:25 and 12:28 in the wooded area, Tyler Robinson puts the rifle wrapped in a black towel in a bush and changes back into his shorts and maroon shirt. Then at 12:29, you see him running in a dirt area in a video. And then at 12:39, that's when the first FBI agent showed up at the scene, just 15 minutes or so after the shooting. So let's just move it near the end here. So this is where you can see him back in the, this isn't the portion yet, right back here. So there he is way back in that dirt area, and he's making his way around this house over here. And apparently this is at 12:29. So after jumping off the roof, landing on the ground at 12:24, 5 minutes later, he's over here. And we know that in between that time, he disposed of the rifle, black towel, and then changed clothes really quick in that wooded area. And the clothes likely were in his backpack. And so just in a moment here, this is obviously from TMZ. You can see the big letter.
Okay, Mr. Good Citizen says, that's why it took them so long to release the JFK files. They had to get their lies straight. Okay, thank you for the comments. Thank you guys for all the likes and shares and so forth. As well, also subscribing to the channel. Let's see. AI MedSpa says, if Tyler Robinson's family did not report him, he would still be on the loose. I definitely do believe you.
Here's on the screen there. I wish they'd zoomed in even further so we could only see maybe 4 pixels on the screen. So here comes Tyler Robinson.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
And there he is, running by the camera. So again, after the shooting, he jumps down right here. He runs over in this direction, crosses the street, puts the weapon in the woods here, wrapped in a black towel, changes clothes, and then from there, he just makes his way quickly down into this area, and we see him at around 12:29 running like this in this direction and off screen. So it feels like he parked his car somewhere over here prior to the shooting. And we just don't know exactly where that is because we don't have any surveillance footage of that happening. All right. So we know now that Tyler Robinson actually stayed in the area and he was going to go back and retrieve the weapon. And while waiting to retrieve the weapon, he communicated with his boyfriend, Lance Twiggs. And here is a picture of Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson. Now let's listen to the audio that I put together in a software program.
On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson, which said,
"Drop what you are doing. Look under my keyboard."
The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated,
"I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it."
After reading the note, the roommate responded,
"What? You're joking, right?" "I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you."
You weren't the one who did it, right?
I'm sorry.
I thought they caught the person?
No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering.
Why?
Why did I do it?
Yeah.
I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again, hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it.
How long have you been planning this?
A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the fuck will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right? I'm gonna have to leave it. That really fucking sucks.
So he's still there at this time, but he's made the decision that he's going to leave the rifle there, etc., and take off. And then after that, the conversation is...
All right, so there you have it. That's pretty much the general breakdown of how the day went for the shooter of Charlie Kirk. And now again, we're covering another shooting that happened this morning in Dallas, Texas, folks. It's quite absurd, the things that we're seeing happen here in the country. We're going to go back and see if there's any new updates when it comes to the shooting that occurred this morning. If not, we're going to
damaging winds.
look into Ukraine. So far, there's no updates. They're still covering the weather. So let's take a look and see what's happening when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. What was one of the promises that Donald Trump made when he first was running for president the second time around? He said that he would end the war in Russia and Ukraine. Well, let's see how that's all coming together. Let's see what the president of Ukraine has to say about the matter.
Later down the road, we'll be talking about that. Hopefully, we'll be in a position to talk about that a little bit later on. It's a little bit too early to answer that question.
Why do you think Russia is not doing well with this during this war? We need more pressure and more sanctions, and I hope with United States first of all and Europe.
Meeting today at the UN. Joining me now, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Mr. President, welcome back to Special Report.
Thanks so much, Brett. Thank you.
What did you take away from?
Do you guys think that Donald Trump will be able to end this war? What do you think about his big meeting that he recently had with Putin? Do you think it was of any success, or was it a nothing burger? Tell us what you think about it in the comments. I look forward to sharing your thoughts. Again, hit the like button, share, and subscribe as we keep bringing you the news at noon.
Your meeting with President Trump at the UN today.
First of all, that it's very important that positions of our teams are closer than any time before. That's good that the details of the situation on the battlefield from intelligence of both countries are similar. And mostly this is good because it always depends on the position and on information. The future decisions, how to speak with Russians, I mean the President Trump teams, when they speak with Russians, from what position? From the position of pressure or from other position? It depends on the position on battlefield, position with economy in Russia, position battlefield of Russia and Ukraine. For example, today we share that this September was difficult for our army, but it was successful really because 360 kilometers we deoccupied it. It's not big victory, but it means that we are not losing. This is important.
Your relationship with President Trump seems to have improved. Is that fair to say?
I think we have a better relation than before. And I think we didn't have a close relation because we didn't have maybe time. I don't know other reasons. It's good that we have often phone calls and meetings. And I think the fact that Putin...
Remember the big upset he had with Donald Trump at the White House? Well, it seems that now he has a different position. It seems that their relationship is much better, at least looking in from the outside and in accordance to what he's actually saying.
Was lying to President Trump so many times also made a difference between us.
I know your staff read the post from President Trump that he posted on Truth Social after your meeting, but in part he said this: after getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine-Russia military and economic situation, and after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. With time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where this war started is very much an option. Are you surprised to hear that?
So think of it as like a TV ad with a catalog component where I can choose on the Roku app and immediately it's...
A little bit. A little bit. I mean, this, I'm sure in my people in my army, and I'm sure in strengthening of the in support of the United States. But President Trump was more positive in it, and he showed that he wants to support Ukraine to the very end. So we understand now that we are ready to finish this war as quick as possible. And he wants, and I want, and our people want. But he understands that Putin doesn't want. And I understand that he is not winning, but he says to everybody that he will win. And I see very, it was a little bit surprise for me, you're right. I was very positive signals from the side that Trump and America will be with us to the end of the war. Yes, as we will see, right? We will see, but God bless, it will be so.
Was there a commitment to put more pressure on Russia, on Vladimir Putin?
Yes, President Trump understands that we need more pressure on him. There's not enough pressure from the Europe. They are our partners, but it's not enough. We need pressure directly on Putin, on the energy network, on their financing system, on banking system, and etc. We spoke with details about it, and we count on sanctions from the United States side.
You know, since President Putin met with President Trump in Alaska, we put up this graphic. Military strikes in your country targeting civilians, more than 500. Casualties, 260 plus. Drone strikes, 2,100. Armed clashes, 2,700. It's increased exponentially. What do you think?
So all of this occurred that you see on the screen since the big meeting that Donald Trump had with President Putin in Alaska.
Happened after that meeting in Alaska?
You know, President Trump tried not to close, you know, this diplomatic possibility of negotiations with Putin. He didn't pressure on him before. He wanted to really have negotiations, to really have trilateral meeting between us. And but Putin, as always, he just, I think, uses the situation. Okay,
Benja says, have you ever been out of the country? Anyone can say they are anti-government while using all of the government services. That's a good point. Mr. Good Citizen says, Benja, that's true, but I also don't fear them either. Mr. Good Citizen says, nope, I'm a blue collar guy. Okay, so we have a lot of comments going back and forth. Thank you guys for the participation. AI MedSpa says, Zelenskyy tried to play Trump like he did Biden. Okay, all right, thank you.
He just used the situation. He got images with President Trump. He sold to his audience, Russian society, you see, I'm shakeable with the United States. It means that we can continue. So it's different position. President Trump wanted to show Putin that he's ready for negotiations, that we are ready to make some progress. But Putin, you know, he's feeling it's not enough pressure.
The next step was going to be a one-on-one meeting between Vladimir Putin and yourself. So right now, that does not look like it's happening.
Yeah, because he afraid such meeting. He's not afraid me. I mean, he afraid such meeting because he has to have some outcome. But his outcome for today is to continue the war. Of course, he said to President Trump, and I think sometimes when they have conversations, Russian teams and American teams, they say that they want peace, but it's not true.
Since that time, he also has gone into other NATO countries. 3 jets into Estonia, drones into Poland. Do you think that's part of a plan? Today, President Trump said those NATO allies should shoot down those planes and drones.
Denmark was yesterday Denmark.
Yes.
Baltics, Nordics, Romania already, a lot of countries. So what Putin is doing for today, he is, first of all, his signals to NATO. He wants to feel how they can defend their countries, and he feels that they can't. Not enough air defense. They are not well.
Okay, very good. Let's see here. Ronald Vaz says, Putin is capable of telling Donald J. Trump that nothing he can do or say will change the situation in Ukraine. Okay, thank you. Mr. Good Citizen says, where does government steals its money? Okay, Benja says, no, the roads belong to the state. All right, so we have quite the conversation going on. Benja says, yeah, bro, you're contradicting yourself. Not sure who that was directed to. Matrix says, China more likely to negotiate Russian-Ukraine peace than Trump. Okay, all right. Juggalo says, Mr. Good Citizen, then stay off the roads. Don't use your mail system. Okay. CRXR, welcome back. Always nice to see you. Says the federal world government needs to get out of the way and need to stop spending money that we haven't even made yet. Okay, very good.
Trained, it's understandable. They are very good professional guys, but they don't have war. Russia in this war more than 10 years.
So if these attacks are increasing, if these excursions and intrusions into other NATO countries are increasing, what do you think it's going to take to change Putin's mind that he can't win militarily or that this war...
Zeke says that Putin is Trump's daddy. Okay, all right.
Needs to come to an end.
I think he wants it. He wants to go to other territories. As I said to my colleagues, I said them 1 year ago, look, don't wait when he will finish the war in Ukraine and he will continue somewhere. He can continue somewhere, not finishing in Ukraine, because he understands that he needs for his war machine, for his factories, for his close circle of businessmen who are in defending military sector, have money, big money. He wants to show that they will continue. That's why he postponed.
Okay, guys, Eric Vander makes a great point. He says, by the grace of God, we were born in this United States, and all these people want to come and try to get what we have, and they all want the same. They want a better life for their family and their friends. Okay. And Positrack says German firearm is either way simple or over-engineered. Okay. Mr. Good Citizen says government doesn't make money, they steal it. Okay, they're stealing the money, folks. What do you think about that? All right. Thank you guys for all the comments. Keep them coming, and don't forget to hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Meetings, any kind of meetings on the level of leaders with me, trilateral, bilateral, doesn't matter how many leaders.
He invited you to Moscow, you invited him to Kyiv. Are you willing to meet directly with him in a neutral spot?
I didn't invite him to Kyiv. I said, look, if you don't want to meet with me, of course, on the place of Putin, I mean, this from his side, of course, you will invite me to Moscow. Mm-hmm. It's just for postponed the meeting. That's it. I said, this is the same if I will invite him to Kyiv. Yes, he has the choice. And Trump teams, my team, Trump team, my team, your...
Listen, I'm not into government, but I could tell you this meeting will never happen.
Europeans, including Macron and other leaders, and Turkey president, I know that President Erdogan was in your... Yeah. All of us, all our teams proposed meeting in Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, in Europe.
Yes, indeed. Russia is definitely putting a lot of influence throughout the region. Nathan says the government can't steal money that belongs to them. Your name isn't stamped on U.S. currency. Okay, thank you very much. All right, Benja says, or am I missing something? Mr. Good Citizen says, what government am I using? And if I do, oh, well, it's my money anyway. Okay, quite the conversation going on. CRXR says, you have to get your own house in order before you can help your neighbor fix their common sense. Ain't so common anymore. And Benja says, Jesus, ha, ha, ha. Okay, so we have a lot of people going back and forth. Zypher says, no chance Putin would meet in a place you could easily take him out in. Exactly. That's common sense. Very good. All right, let's get back to it.
Neutral, like Austria, Switzerland. So we said, even if you want somewhere like Kazakhstan, I mean...
You're ready.
Yeah, we're ready. That's it.
So I talked to President Erdogan yesterday here at the UN. I asked him about his thoughts about how long this might take. Here he is. Do you think the war ends soon?
I don't really believe that it will.
And that's not a good thing for the world.
It's not good news. And we thinking about this in this manner is heavy on our hearts.
Says he has good relations with you and with Russia, but he doesn't think it's ending anytime soon. Do you agree with him?
Because he knows my attitude that we are ready to finish the war, And he understands that Putin doesn't want to finish the war. And he understands that not enough pressure on Putin. Really, I know that he understands it. We need pressure. From whom? United States, President Trump. And I think that President Trump can change the attitude of Xi Jinping to this war. Because China, I mean, we don't feel that China wants to finish this war.
China, India, they're all contributing here. European nations, the president said, need to get off oil, but need to do it with the U.S. Do you think that that is going to happen?
I think Iran will never be on our side because we'll never be on the side of the United States. I think India mostly with us. Yes, we had these questions with energy, but I think that President Trump can manage it with Europeans, make more close and strong relations with India. And I think we have to do everything not to withdraw Indians, and they will change their attitude to Russian energy sector, I'm sure. With China, it's more difficult because it's not, for today, it's not in their interest to not to support Russia.
President Trump has indicated that any sort of peace deal, if it comes, with Ukraine and Russia, would end up with Ukraine losing some territory to Russia. Have you accepted that reality, or what concessions do you think, if you got to a negotiating table, you're willing to make?
First of all, it's important that today we had good conversation with President Trump, and I think he understands for today that we can't just swap territories. It's not fair. It's not real.
So you think his position has changed?
Yes, I think so. And God bless it. I really count on this, on continuation of his attitude to the territorial question and the question of our sovereignty at the end of the days. And I think that it's not about territories. It's about the position of Putin. He will continue.
Okay, guys, Joseph makes a point. He says, can MAGA tell me how they can love their president who dodged the draft to fight for his country he supposedly loves so much? Oh, okay. All right, not a good look for the president. Perhaps CRXR says, if they had another Democratic election in Gaza like they did in 2006, do you think they would elect Hamas again? Okay. All right. Mr. Good Citizen answers Eric and says, no, I believe in what the country is formed for. Y'all should leave. If you want to cradle to the government, crave government, go live in Europe. Okay, thanks.
Continue. If we will give them more that he really wants, he will continue. So the question how to stop the war is just to stop Putin's ambitions, to change his position to this war.
You and I have talked, sat down together many times since the beginning of this war. Take a listen.
That will not be the last war.
So tell us in the comments, who do you think is winning so far this big debate? Donald Trump, Putin, or the president of Ukraine that we see here?
The war, it will be the first of those future biggest wars in the world.
Do you think Putin would stop if you don't get this funding? Would he make a deal? Would you make a deal?
It's not about financing. It's about the morality.
He has to understand that all the world needs peace, and all the world will not give him possibility to occupy Ukraine.
We are ready for peace, but we have to be in strong position.
From the front lines to D.C. to here in New York, it's 43 months.
Thank you that you've been with us all these years.
Yeah, asking the questions, and you've been answering. 43 months of war now, fourth year. Your people have to be weary and tired, and troops have got to be wiped out. They're, obviously steadfast in this. President Trump talked about this, pushing back Russia when they were supposed to win in just a matter of days. How are your troops holding up? How is your country holding up?
Very difficult position, of course, but from the side of morality, we are on our land. It's our home. We are surviving.
But we can't lose. We can't lose. Otherwise, we will lose our independence.
For the people around the world, including here in the U.S., who are concerned about corruption inside your country, who are concerned about where all the money is going, who are concerned that you're not holding elections because you're in this emergency time. Politico wrote this.
Ranger says Putin's been president 21 years in total. He thinks he's a king. Okay. All right. Mr. Good Citizen says, I can tell y'all haven't read American history.
Your party, there's frustration growing. There have been growing grumbles within your party ranks about your highly personalized method of rule and your tendency to be dismissive of Parliament, plus the move against anti-corruption agencies still rankles some of your own lawmakers. For those people concerned about that, what do you say?
First of all, it's not true. All the anti-corruption reforms being voted by this Parliament by majority. Majority is our party. Everything,
thank you, Joseph.
Changing, every independence of anti-corruption infrastructure was voted during all these years, even during the war. And all the European institutions who are also always support this infrastructure.
Joseph says, because this is what they are fighting for, to be king of the new world order.
Structure, they know it. Because only majority voted for these laws. Even if we will change and find a way how to change, we need security for these elections. For example, we are ready if we will have ceasefire. Even if it's difficult according to our constitution.
You'll hold elections.
We can. Okay, if we can do with our partners, of course, with
security guarantees.
Security guarantees.
Mr. President, we appreciate you coming on a busy day like this to the studio, and we'll always welcome you back on Special Report.
All right. So we've covered this particular story. I want to try to go back and see, is there any new news in regards to the shooting that occurred, I believe it was this morning around 6:43 in Dallas, Texas. It seems that there's nothing new circulating in regards to it, but we would definitely keep you abreast to what's happening. But right now it seems that after the press conference, there hasn't been anything new. Later on this afternoon, I'm going to have the criminal defense attorney who actually lives in Texas. His name is Calvin Johnson. We're going to have him come up and discuss the actual shooting, as he knows individuals who have boots on the ground. So that should be good to get an update from someone who knows the inner circle of what's happening down in Dallas, Texas. And we're going to bring on a criminal defense attorney from that actual area. So that does it for today as far as our news at noon. We started quite a bit early because of the breaking news that occurred with the shooting in Dallas. It's terrible what's happening in our country. It seems that every day. Yesterday, there was a shooting in Pennsylvania. There's so many shootings. I could literally come on every day and break a new story. That's how terrifying the situation is. And also, here's the big story. On your personal Facebook, I guarantee most of you, or not just Facebook, but any social media, I guarantee you could show me a case in point of people actually calling each other's names, speaking derogatory toward individuals because of what class or what party that they claim. And these situations are becoming more and more repulsive each and every day. But you know what I really do appreciate is that on Watching the World, at least in our chat section, I've been seeing a lot of healthy debates, not a lot of name calling or a lot of threats. We're able to, it really doesn't even matter where you associate or what party you identify with. The big thing that we try to adhere to is having good debate, healthy debate, and to keep the conversation rolling and not the fists and not the fighting and kicking and shooting and the things that people like to do when they run out of words to say. So I'm going to go through a few more comments. And again, we're going to be back on. I'll have to announce it because Calvin Johnson is in court. I don't know exactly what time he'll be coming on the show, but I will be coming back live. Let's see if I have an update from him as far as what time. Looks like we will be going live around 2 o'clock. We'll get to hear from Calvin Johnson, the criminal defense attorney there in Dallas, Texas. So let's get to a few of these comments before we take a break from the show. Mr. Good Citizen says, I literally sitting a half mile from William Penn's estate and a couple miles from the Washington, crossed the Delaware, and about a half hour from where the Declaration of Independence was drafted. Okay. So you're making that point. Matrix says Trump hates his own constituents. America is at war with Americans. Trump can't control war in his homeland. Okay, this is terrible, but there's a lot of ring of truth when it comes to this matter. Okay, very good. Very good. So a lot of good comments. Mashona says, thanks for joining the conversation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so we want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we will be back on in a couple hours to discuss what's happening with the shooting that occurred this morning in Dallas, Texas. There was a sniper on the roof that took shots and shot a few ICE detainees. And we can't wait to hear, like, what's the nature of that story? What was his motive? We do know that the shooter, at least one of the shooters, if there were more, one of the shooters took his own life. They did say it was a male, and we see a common denominator between these shooters, although today on the show, a lot of people said it's the left that's doing all the shooting. But is that necessarily true? Well, we're going to find out. We'll keep you up to pace with the story. Thank you for all of the moderators who keep the show going, such as Mashona, Eric. We saw quite a few here today, and really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back on air shortly, and we hope to see each one of you come back. Hit the notification button so you know when we go live. Also like so that you can see the material, the different shows that we bring forth to discuss the news as it comes out, especially breaking news here at Watching the World. Thank you so much, and we will see you shortly.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.